We are just brilliantly sailing under self-steering gear around this point on Epi Island. Just stunning. I was in a position where I could sail my own yacht, on my own, up to Vanuatu. It's just your perfect sailing. You know, white beaches, coconut palms, blue water, good steady breeze, and sunshine. And then my wife flew up, and we had 4 months cruising around Vanuatu, and it was just brilliant. We're going to find an anchorage and explore all of this amazing place. I can see schools of fish in the water right now. Jen's off bush exploring. Can't hold that woman back. Just incredible, really. We went to places where yachts hadn't been seen for 4 years, and they were really pleased to see us. We loaded our boat with 200 pairs of reading glasses, and we just did sight tests with people, and then as they found that their eyesight was really poor, we'd give them a pair of reading glasses. Waimanu's sitting happily at anchor. Believe it or not, over 30 feet deep water there. We went for nearly a month without using any money. We simply gave stuff away, and they kept us fed and watered. Here's Waimanu looking just a pretty picture with a bunch of bananas, the sunshade up. Looks like we've really adapted to this lifestyle so quickly. So this is this amazing sunset. Look at that, just stunning. And then Jenny flew home, and I had the formidable task of sailing against the weather back to New Zealand, 1,300 odd miles. Just wonderful. Just so enjoying every aspect of this, just a dream come true. I sailed straight into some pretty heavy weather, and it stayed that way for day after day. But I got used to it. Just slowed the boat down, everything was safe and good. During the night, the wind and the waves were changing direction. They weren't in sync. And so we were dropping off the back of 7-metre swells, 20 odd feet, with nothing on the back of them. And a little boat doesn't like that. It's like dropping a boat onto concrete. My pattern in open ocean sailing was to just go to sleep for 20 minutes, wake up, check that everything is okay, the boat's okay, I know where I am, and then pop my head down and sleep for another 20 minutes. So I'm never entering into a deep sleep cycle. So I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, had a quick look around, and we dropped off a big wave. I hopped out from down here, came out into the cockpit, and I realised that the boom was lying across here on the cabin top, and the mast was over the side. One of the saddest days of my life. Early this morning, I got up to check. There was a ship just over there, and immediately the mast came down. I just couldn't believe it. I put out a mayday call on VHF, but with the power down, I don't think they received it. This is exactly the same design as Waimanu. So same yacht I was on. This mast base was right there, upside down. The winches were here. And when I got back here and looked down below, that's when the trouble started. The floorboards were already 4 inches, 100 mil underwater. So clearly somewhere we had put a hole in the boat and the ocean was climbing in there really fast. This is such a sad, sad time to see Waimanu go after all this work. Just unbelievable. I just don't know what to do with myself. So I've been trying to pump out with the bilge pump, but the bilge pump seems blocked or not going. And I had the surge, the pressure, if you will, of wanting to panic, wanting to get afraid, wanting to get really emotional, all hit me at once. So I stopped and calmed myself down. And I said, if you let the adrenaline take over here, Phil, it's not going to end well. So I just paused. And then I clicked into gear. I knew I had a job to do and there was a limited time to do it. If I didn't get it right, I was going to die. And then I got to that place with the life raft already. I had all the papers, my gear, my wet weather gear and everything I could into it. I thought, I've got to go. By the time I'd stepped off the deck and into the life raft, got my camera out, it might have been, I don't know, 1.5, 2 minutes tops. There was nothing on the ocean, not even a piece of paper. There was nothing to say that a yacht had ever been there. What an incredible shame. Loss of a magic ship. Anyway, life's an adventure. There's nothing I can do about her now. She's gone. Just have to be philosophical. Hope this thing holds me up till a big ship comes along. Anyway, I'm going to have a break now. I need to check something. See you later. This is what life looks like in a life raft. Made myself quite at home in here, so I'm very pleased about that. The only thing is I'm looking for a spoon because I wouldn't mind something to eat. I've thrown some tinned fruit in here, so I'd love something to eat. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I had a great childhood, except I had a couple of big overbearing shadows, and one of the ones was that I just never felt like I fitted in. I was often called the black sheep of the family. One of the big issues that really amplified that was I wet my bed. And that's okay when you're 6, or maybe even when you're 12, but I was still wetting my bed at 18 and up to 19 years old. So since then I've learnt that this condition is called enuresis, and it's simply that there's a hormone that's not settled or it's depleted. But it was hell for me as a kid because I was always ashamed, embarrassed, feeling guilty. It caused me to lie, to deceive, to cover things up, to try and be somebody that actually wasn't. I just never really felt right. My eldest brother left home at 16, and the next, which was the second one, was a medical student. He was a Dux at Mount Albert Grammar. He was incredibly bright, but he was also extremely introvert, a little bit opposite to me. We got on really, really well. But he asked me one day, you know, you have such a crazy life. Well, you're always out doing stuff. What could I do? And I said, well, do what my oldest brother did. Why don't you go parachuting? And he did. And on his first jump, he killed himself. That day just, well, you never forget it. That's 40 years ago. And my parents, oh, it just took years. I mean, losing a kid, especially like that, who was the top medical student in New Zealand, it really blew them away. I don't think it had a direct impact on me in terms of finding Christ, but I determined that I've got to live life to the fullest because you don't know which is your last day. We never expected that to happen. I would like to get rescued today. To spend a night in this is not going to be that great. I'm very, very pleased that I am single-handed. If we had 3 or 4 of us in here with this gear, it would be a mission. Very, very uncomfortable. I could feel this fear wanting to rise up. And so I just said no. And somehow, in a moment of time, I just surrendered everything back to God. And I felt his peace flood my heart. I knew that I could take control, but I'd have to think rationally, cohesively, and logically to make it work. Later in the afternoon, I heard this solid roar, and I thought, man, that is a really big wave. And then I realized it wasn't the sound of a wave, it was too consistent. So I unzipped the life raft doors and looked outside, and there was this big Royal New Zealand Air Force Hercules almost skimming over the top of the water, coming straight at me. I popped out, both thumbs up. This is our, looks like the Royal New Zealand Air Force. It spotted me at 9:50. I think they're just holding position now until the ship locates. Just giving me assurance that I've been found. And I tell you, it's great assurance. There was something amazing about having that plane just go over me for the first time. They were there for me. I was going to be rescued. This rescue ship was diverted, so 10.5 or so hours later, and they were afraid to get off the boat and come and rescue me because it was still a big ocean out there. In the losing of the yacht, there's one thing that I had settled in my heart a long time before, is that I can never be in a situation without him being there. Because he's promised he's never going to leave me. He's never going to forsake me. He's right there. So all I've got to do is find out where he is and stand next to him. You can't put into words what it's like going through that and then seeing your family again. My darling wife and our kids. It's just amazing. I reflect on that time and what I'd gone through, not too often, but enough to realise that I make every day count. Could have quite easily lost my life, but great crew, great seamanship, and quite a story to be told. So, life aboard a ship for a little while, forced holiday on a cruise ship. I've discovered the way I live, and I think everybody could live this way, is I never have a bad day. And you go, Phil, you're crazy. You lost the yacht in the middle of the ocean and you end up in a life raft? It wasn't a bad day. It was a hard day. I have good days and I have hard days, never a bad day. It's your perspective of the problem that's the problem. So I changed my perspective. I start to see things through God's glasses instead of mine. It's like all I lost in my childhood, I'm making up for now. It's fun, it's adventurous, I love it. I wouldn't give it away for anything.